Welcome to DSGuard Database Activity Monitoring, or DAM. A proxy can only see the traffic that goes through it. Anything that reaches your database another way, a local shell, a scheduled job, a direct admin connection, is invisible to it. DAM closes that gap by reading the database's own audit trail and filing it alongside everything the proxy already logs. Collected records land in the same query log table the proxies write to, marked with the source column. That means one place to search, one place to report from, and a single timeline whether an action came through DSGuard or around it. Collection is configured on the backend server because the audit trail belongs to the server, not to any one database on it. Open a server to find the Database Activity Monitoring panel. One switch enables collection for this server. Everything below it describes how DSGuard should reach the trail and how often. The method tells DSGuard how the trail is reachable. SQL reads it through a query, which suits PostgreSQL, MySQL, Oracle, and ClickHouse. SSH reads a file on the host, used for MongoDB. WinRM reads the Windows event log, and UNC reads an audit file over a Windows share, both for SQL Server. Give the account DSGuard should read the trail with. It needs read access to the audit data and nothing more. Host and port are optional. Leave them empty and DSGuard uses the server's own address, which is the usual case. The poll interval is how often DSGuard asks for new records. Lag and overlap matter for engines that buffer their audit rights, like Oracle. A record stamped 10 o'clock can become visible after one stamped 10:05. Lag holds the cursor slightly behind the clock, overlap rereads a window, and deduplication makes that harmless. Without all three, late records fall behind the cursor and are never read. Maximum batch caps how many records a single poll takes, so a large backlog cannot overwhelm the collector. When a poll comes back full, DSGuard polls again immediately rather than waiting, and drains at input-output speed. Time zone matters only for engines whose audit timestamps carry no zone. For file-based trails, the log path and file pattern say where to look, a SQL Server audit directory or a PostgreSQL comma-separated log. For query-based trails, these stay empty. This is the field that makes complementary mode work. Records whose client address is the proxy have already been logged by the proxy, so DSGuard drops them and keeps only the traffic that bypassed it. Get this wrong, and you either double count everything or discard exactly the records you wanted. Some engines never clean their own audit trail, and an unattended one will eventually stop the database. DSGuard monitors trail size on every poll and can purge what it has already collected behind a safety margin once you enable it. Test DAM connection runs the real collector code against the target, not a re-implementation. It reports whether it connected, whether it can read the trail, whether auditing is actually switched on, how many records are visible, how many the proxy filter would drop, and how far back the trail goes. It also raises warnings, conditions where collection works and still causes harm. An audit policy that applies to every account records the engine's own internal activity, which on a real system is the overwhelming majority and can fill a disk. Every check can pass while that is true, which is exactly why it is called out. Each data source then chooses its own scope. Complementary is the default and the safe one, only what bypassed the proxy, so nothing is counted twice. Full takes everything and asks you to confirm, because proxied traffic will then appear from both sources. Backfill runs a one-off pass over a period that predates collection. Back on the server list, the DAM column answers one question: is this source current? Collecting means healthy. Behind means it is working and losing ground. Stalled means it has stopped working the source. Needs attention means it will not recover on its own. The badge is decided by how far behind the data is, not by whether the last poll returned without an error. Collected records appear in query logs beside proxied ones, with the source column telling them apart. Every filter, export, and column control works the same on both. This is what collection makes possible. A shadow database is one seen in a server's audit trail that is not registered as a data source, a database being used that DSGuard does not control. The report names it, the server it is on, how often it was touched, by how many distinct users, and when it was first and last seen. Register opens the data source form already filled in, so the database comes under control. Investigate opens query logs filtered to that database from the day it was first seen, so you can see who touched it and with which statements. Ignore stops reporting it, scoped to that one server, so the same name on another server is still reported. Ignored entries are listed, not hidden away. Each one opens a record of who ignored it, and when, with a restore action and entries that ship excluded, like system databases, say so rather than looking like somebody's decision. The collector runs as its own service under the supervisor, with its own health. It is never in the query path, so a problem here delays collection rather than stalling your applications. That is database activity monitoring end-to-end. Configure it on the server, scope it per database, watch one badge for health, and let the shadow database report tell you about the databases nobody registered. Together with the proxy, you get the whole picture instead of half of it.